A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
"65,000 acres of paddy fields at risk of destruction due to lack of water. Farmers in Ambilipitia stage a Satyagraha demanding water for their fields. CEB says will not be able to provide uninterrupted power if water is released. SLPP MPs contradict each other on their next presidential candidate. UNP Chairman Vajirabe Wardana says Ranil should be elected president with 10 million votes.
Sri Lanka Aithihasika Janadhipati Ranil Wickramasinghe.
Human Rights Commission launches investigation into the arrest of Tharindu Uduvaragadara. One person shot dead in Keselvatta.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
And now the stories in detail. About 65,000 acres of paddy fields are at risk of being destroyed if water is not provided immediately. It has been a week since farmers in Ambilipitia had begun a Satyagraha demanding for water.
What is the issue here? Paddy fields that are nourished by the Udavalave reservoir that has a capacity of 217,440 acre-feet are at risk of being destroyed. The water level of the Udavalave reservoir have dropped significantly due to a drought in the area. Farmers here face serious issues in getting water for their paddy fields and other cultivations. The Udavalave reservoir constructed in 1963, and the main objective of this reservoir is to provide water to Udavalave, Ambilipitia and Hambantota. There are 2 hydropower plants located at this reservoir as well. Who is affected by the shortage of water at the Udavalave reservoir? About 75,000 acres of farmlands are nourished by the Udavalave reservoir, out of which 65,000 acres are paddy fields. Over 35,000 farming families depend on water from the Udavalave reservoir. If these paddy fields do not get the water they need now, the entire harvest could be severely affected. If these paddy fields do not yield a good harvest for the yellow season, it could affect the national paddy production for that season. What are the farmers asking for? Farmers in Ambilipitia have been requesting for water to be provided from the Samanalavavu reservoir, which is located above the Udavalave reservoir, for about 2 weeks. Farmers point out that if water from the Samanalavavu is released to the Udavalave reservoir, it can be diverted to the fields through Chandrika Vavu.
It's been 7 days, but no official has given us a proper answer. This is a serious situation. I believe this situation will affect this entire area as well as the whole country. If we do not get a proper answer, this will become a serious issue.
Why is this not being done? This water is not being released as the Ceylon Electricity Board is not in favour of releasing water from the Samanalavavu for farming purposes. The Samanalavavu is used mainly for the production of hydroelectricity, and the CEB points out that releasing water to the paddy fields would result in power outages. What is the situation of the paddy fields? This is the state of the paddy fields in Mayurupura Surya Vavu in the Mahavali division. Farmers point out that 2,100 acres of land have been cultivated in the area, and about 40% of that cultivation has been damaged.
This is the damage that I have suffered. I can't even get 1 sack of paddy from my 2 acres. The Minister of Power is speaking about generating electricity, but we do not want electricity. We want to eat. We are now forced to die of starvation. Can't you see this? We have no money to purchase medicine. We are forced to go begging. Give us some water from the Samanalavavu. The officials should understand these. We need to take care of our children. We will not live for much longer.
What was the response of the Minister of Agriculture? Farmers had met with the Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera yesterday.
The lands have been marked R4, R5, R1, 2, 3, but we cannot go to those places because these people come out with clubs and sticks and assault us. We need water to solve the issue of the farmers here. If you give us protection of the STF, we can go now and get the water. I met with the president and asked him to intervene and save the paddy fields of these farmers, even if there could be power outages. I am trying to speak at the cabinet meeting on Monday and put forward your request. You are asking for water to be provided even if there are power outages. I will make that request as well. If we do not have enough paddy, we have no country that we can import it from either.
The human-elephant conflict is an issue that has been plaguing countless Sri Lankans for generations. The situation that ensued in Mahayangane as a result of the human-elephant conflict portrays the extent of the severity of the issue. This is not a fire that erupted naturally. This is also not a fire that was ignited to hunt animals. This is a fire that was ignited to chase away elephants who encroached into the area across the banks of the Mahaveli River in Mahayangane. This fire that was set up to ward off encroaching wild elephants was doused by the police and area residents before it caused serious damages. The wild elephants have been left helpless because of the fire, and the people have been left helpless because of the encroaching elephants.
About 15 elephants were here. Someone had ignited the fire because the elephants were there. Much effort went into dousing the fire on the part of the Mahayangane police and area residents. When these wild elephants encroach on the villages, the residents there are helpless. The representatives of the people who were elected and are in parliament should find solutions to these issues. These animals are helpless, and the people here are also helpless. Residents of Mahayangane in the Uva province as well as Bataclaw in the eastern province are severely affected by the human-elephant conflict. This herd of elephants has been roaming around Wandaremulle in Bataclaw for several days now. These wild elephants had encroached on the farmlands in the area. The residents here as well as the wild elephants are helpless. When will sustainable solutions be provided to the human-elephant conflict? The people continue to wonder, when will officials be able to provide these solutions to the issues that have been plaguing them for generations? Adding to the growing number of shootings reported in the country, one person was shot dead in Kesalwatha today. Two gunmen travelling on a motorbike carried out the shooting along Martis Lane in Kesalwatha this afternoon.
The shooting was reported at around 3:45 this afternoon. According to the police, two individuals who were travelling in a motorbike had carried out the shooting and then fled the scene. The victim has been identified as a 20-year-old resident of Colombo 12. The reason behind the shooting is yet to be identified.
Do you remember? Many shootings carried out by gunmen travelling on motorbikes were reported in several parts of the country in the recent past. On the 15th of this month, a shooting was carried out at the Nugaruka bridge in Denipitiya, Valigama. One man was killed while his son suffered injuries. Another shooting in Middaramulla Ahungala on the 14th of April claimed the life of a 29-year-old. One person was injured when gunmen travelling on a motorbike opened fire along the Vedihitikanda road in Katharagama. A shooting carried out by two gunmen travelling on a motorbike along the Paramananda road in Kotahena claimed the life of one. A three-wheeler driver was shot and killed in Ambalangoda.
These are only some of the issues faced by the general public. However, the discussion on the political platform is focused on who will form the next government and secure power in the country. The SLPP, which is the political party that currently holds majority power in Parliament, is divided on certain matters. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Satyagraha says that the UNP and the SLPP has united. However, Namal Rajapaksa says that he will not allow the trust reposed in the former president to be undermined.
Speaking at the Bandaravela Balamandala meeting of the SLPP, chaired by parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa, State Minister of Finance Jehan Semasinghe suggested that they should unite with Ranil Wickremesinghe.
If the majority had decided not to support Ranil Wickremesinghe, this country would be in a more severe crisis today than it was a year ago. Although we may have some differences, we should put them aside for a moment. If Ranil Wickremesinghe and Mahinda Rajapaksa were able to set this example for the country, we in the village and cities can set this example as well. We would like to say that if they express ideas and take actions to destroy the country instead of building it, those are characteristics of cowardly leadership. The problems of this country cannot be solved by just talking at junctions.
However, MP Namal Rajapaksa expressed the following views.
You are people who believe in Mahinda Rajapaksa's policies. We would like to remind you that we as a political party won't let the faith you have reposed in him be undermined in any way.
Meanwhile, while attending the Mathura district conference of the SLPP, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Satyagraha said that the UNP and the SLPP will secure power in the country.
Exactly a week ago, the UNP's conference here was chaired by former Minister Sagala Ratnayaka. So remember that even though we held conferences separately, both parties will secure the power of this country together.
However, SLPP parliamentarian Nipuna Ranawaka expressed a contradictory opinion on the same stage.
We will see who will become the next presidential candidate and who will become the next president. We do not need any more positions in this government. We will win the election again and show the power of the Pohottua. The cabinet paper that allowed 3 private distributors, that includes Sinopec, to distribute fuel locally, was submitted by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, but we did not expect Sipetco, which is a state-owned enterprise, to be privatized. If the major companies that distribute fuel decide that they don't like the government and stop distributing fuel for a day or two, the government will have to pack up and leave. Therefore, if any change is being made beyond Mahinda Rajapaksa's policies, there should be timely changes in policy. We would like to reiterate the fact that we will not support any measure beyond the mandate that was given to us by the 6.9 million people of this country.
Meanwhile, chairman of the United National Party, Vajira Abeyewardena, says that Ranil Wickremesinghe should be elected at the next presidential election by 10 million votes. He made this statement attending the Balamandala meeting in Min area, Hinguragoda.
The country is still bankrupt. Ranil Wickremesinghe is slowly taking the country out of bankruptcy. He hopes to completely take the country out of bankruptcy next month. Ranil Wickremesinghe is an economic and political expert. If you just watch him, you can see where he is trying to go. Members of the opposition are making speeches today because of him. Some are asking as to if there will be no elections. They held elections and the people ended up standing in queues. I would like to remind you that we must elect Ranil Wickremesinghe with 10 million votes and make it a historic win. The people need to control the political parties. That is what Ranil Wickremesinghe is seeking.
දේශපාලන පක්ෂ මහජනයා පාලනය කරන්න ඕන. එහෙම කරන්න කියලායි රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා කියන්නේ.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, former President Maithripala Sirisena, expressed his opinion on a cabinet free of corruption allegations while addressing the SLFP's Kolonnawa Balamandala meeting today.
The first 2 years after 2019, they tortured me. They shot and killed Bandaranayaka, but they tortured me. They did that because I was against corruption. If we look at the present cabinet, we need to find 30 people who are not thieves and looters. That is not an easy task. You know what the situation is like. I have been eating a packet of lunch wrapped in a banana leaf that I get from home for the past 30 years. A Buddhist monk once said that a king should eat like a king. The people who became kings and ate like kings had also eaten the country. But I did not do that.
රජවරු විදිහට කාලා තමයි රට කෑවේ. හැබැයි මම කෑවේ නෑ.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa visited the Abhayagiriya, Udamaluwa, Ruwanwalisaya, Isrumuniya and Tuparama temples. The opposition leader requested the government to hold an election soon as possible as the country needs a clear change.
The general public is facing a situation where they cannot sell their paddy harvest for a fixed price. How can a farmer sell paddy at 60 to 70 rupees and expect to cover his expenses? When the citizens of the country are suffering, the government of this country is still looking for commissions and how to steal from the people. We believe that significant changes should be made in the country and the citizens should make those decisions. We are ready to go before the people and ask them for a mandate, and we are ready to form a government of the people the way that they want it.
Why is the government scared to hold elections? Parliamentarian M. Udaya Kumar spoke on this following a program held in Nuwara today.
A democratic country needs a government elected by the people. It can be a local government, provincial council or the parliament. Even the president should be elected by the votes of the citizens. There are no people's representatives in today's local government bodies and provincial councils. The parliament has no mandate. The current president was also not a person elected to parliament. The people of the country drove out the president that they themselves elected. So they know that if they hold an election, they will suffer a serious defeat. That is why they are postponing the election.
News first with the people.
India's Minister of Finance Nirmala Sitharaman has called upon the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to speed up relief measures for countries facing debt vulnerabilities. She was speaking at the India-Japan Forum in New Delhi yesterday.
Speaking at the India-Japan Forum in New Delhi on Saturday, India's Minister of Finance Nirmala Sitharaman said a comprehensive, better and quicker approach is required to address the problems within the common framework of the IMF and World Bank as well as outside it. She said, quote, I quote, the outside of it equally as much as within the framework, as we have the example of Sri Lanka, a middle-income country which got into distress because its earnings were limited to tourism and some other areas like export of tea. Sri Lanka required a quick redressal, although outside of the framework because they are a middle-income country, unquote. She said that India's top two finance track priorities during its G20 presidency are multilateral development banks reforms and debt relief measures for many stressed economies. Sitharaman said, in Sri Lanka's case, Japan, which holds the G7 presidency currently, quickly took the lead to address the distress. Japan came up, along with France and India, with a quick committee of creditors groups, which started addressing the issue. She added, quote, and of course, it was an open forum. It wasn't limited to just the three countries. China is welcome to participate as one of the big creditors, unquote. She called Japan's constructive approach to address debt distress an indicator that the G7 and G20 together would come up with solutions to the problems.
Well, time for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back.
News First. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Be the first to know about the biggest stories as they break. Subscribe to News First English News Alerts. News First, your trusted English news channel.
Welcome back. You are with News First. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka says that it will launch an investigation into the arrest of Executive Committee member of the Young Journalists Association, Tharindu Uduwaragedara.
In a statement, the HRCSL says that the rapid response team of the Commission visited the Boralla police station and inquired about the condition of Tharindu Uduwaragedara. The HRCSL says it will call for reports from the relevant parties alleged to have been connected to the incident and summon all the concerned individuals for an inquiry. Executive Committee member of the Young Journalists Association, Tharindu Uduwaragedara, who was arrested during a protest held in Boralla on Friday, was released on bail yesterday. The Samage Jana Balawegaya expressed their opinion on the government's action at a press briefing held today.
We asked them what destructive actions of Tharindu Uduwaragedara prompted the police to arrest him. Is it possible for them to arrest someone like that based on something that had happened on 2 previous occasions? Where is the law? There was no indication made of any criminal act on his part. Accordingly, it is clear what is happening is media suppression. We respectfully ask President Wickremesinghe to please put an end to this media suppression. If not, it will not be possible to prevent the Aragale that happened before from happening again.
Also in local news, the lawyers of the shipping company that own the Express Pearl ship has agreed to make an interim compensation payment for the damages caused by the Express Pearl disaster.
The Attorney General's department said that the agreements reached following the discussions held in Singapore recently were communicated to Sri Lanka yesterday. The interim compensation is to be provided for the conservation of the ocean and for the fishing community who were affected by the incident. The Attorney General's department said that a detailed report on the interim compensation will be handed over to the company's lawyers. In addition, the Attorney General's department plans on submitting a summary report on the total damages caused by the Express Pearl disaster to the lawyers of the company within the next weeks. The report will be compiled by the Marine Environment Protection Authority.
In business news this evening, according to the State Trading Corporation, 1 million eggs imported from India to Sri Lanka are released daily to Satasa and other supermarkets.
Chairman of the State Trading Corporation, R.C.D. Valisundara, said that the stock of eggs required for next week has already been sent for quality inspections. He also said that the report on quality of the eggs will be submitted tomorrow. These stocks are to be distributed through Satasa stores island-wide at a price of 35 rupees per egg.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says that strict action will be taken against filling stations that do not maintain sufficient stocks of fuel.
The minister tweeted that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has informed that anticipating the fuel price revision next month, 101 fuel station dealers for 92 petrol and 61 fuel station dealers for Lanka Auto Diesel have not maintained 50% stock capacity and placed adequate orders to maintain stock requirements as of Saturday. The minister requested all fuel station dealers to maintain adequate stocks and place orders accordingly, adding that the CPC has adequate stocks available for delivery. The minister said CPC took over the management of a few fuel stations that had not maintained minimum stocks and commenced legal proceedings on multiple other dealers.
2 individuals have been arrested for setting fire in forest in the Badula district. Assistant Director of the Disaster Relief Service in the Badula district, M. Udayakumara, said that the fire is now spreading in the Narangala, Ohia and Haldumulla areas.
Several tourist sites are located within the area where the wildfire is currently spreading. Fires were reported in several areas including Valimada, Haldumulla, Kandakatiya and Badula Divisional Secretariat areas during the last few days. Large swathes of forest were destroyed last night due to a fire that engulfed the Upper Kotmalliya area situated above the Galpitiaya estate in Kalupahana. The fire was doused by the fire brigade with the support of 3 armed forces and area residents. The fire has also erupted in the Pili Amuna Reserve in Valimada. According to our correspondent, the fire is still spreading.
Second phase of the Divi Savia program, distributing much needed school books and supplies to the students of Sri Lanka. Coming soon.
Moving on to news overseas now, Pakistan police said a powerful bomb ripped through a rally by supporters of a hardline political and Muslim leader in the country's northwestern Baju district that borders Afghanistan on Sunday, killing at least 10 people and wounding more than 50.
Senior police officer Nazir Khan said the workers' convention of Maulana Fazlur Rahman's Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam party was taking place on the outskirts of Kar, the capital of Badula district, when the explosion took place. He said some of the wounded were taken to the city's main hospital in critical condition and the death toll could increase. Akhtar Hayat Gandapur, the Inspector General of Police for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, said explosion took place before the senior party leader's arrival. Rahman is considered to be a pro-Taliban cleric and his political party is part of the coalition government in Islamabad. Meetings are being organized across the country to mobilize supporters for the coming elections due to be held by October.
Tens of thousands of Israelis have staged new nationwide protests days after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed through a highly contested law that limited some Supreme Court powers.
Protesters took to the streets in cities including northern Galilee and central Tel Aviv for the 30th consecutive week in a show of opposition towards the judicial overhaul. The first part of Netanyahu's reform package, which has become known as the Reasonableness Clause, a bill, was ratified by the Knesset, Israel's parliament, on Monday, sparking an unprecedented crisis and opening up a deep social divide. Political watchdog groups have appealed to the Supreme Court to strike down Monday's bill, which removes the High Court's authority to void what it deems unreasonable decisions by the government. The court said it would hear arguments in September, setting the scene for a constitutional showdown.
Also in news overseas, Moscow's Vnukovo International Airport was briefly closed to traffic after the city mayor said Ukrainian drones hit buildings in the capital.
Russian authorities said 3 Ukrainian drones attacked Moscow in the early hours of Sunday, injuring 1 person and prompting a temporary closure for traffic of the Vnukovo International Airport, one of 4 airports around the Russian capital. It was the 4th such attempt at a strike on the capital region this month and the 3rd this week, fueling concerns about Moscow's vulnerability to attacks as Russia's war in Ukraine drags into its 18th month. The Russian Defense Ministry referred to the incidents as an attempted terrorist attack by the Kiev regime.
And moving on to sports news this evening, the quarterfinals of the Jaffna Premier League football tournament continued today.
Jaffna Football Premier League.
The Jaffna Premier League football tournament is being held with the aim of selecting the cream of Sri Lankan football players for the national football squad. Shakti TV is the official media sponsor of this event. 2 matches of the quarterfinals of the Jaffna Premier League football tournament took place today. 4 teams will take part in the quarterfinal rounds. The semi-finals will be held on the 1st and 2nd of August.
Jaffna Football Premier League, JFP.
Sri Lanka's first ever international mixed martial arts and K1 Pro tournament was held in Colombo on Saturday.
The first ever Pro MMA tournament to happen in an octagon was held in Colombo on Saturday. The tournament titled Road to TFC, organised by Thailand Fighting Championship in partnership with the Champions Combat Entertainment, provides opportunities to Sri Lankan fighters to compete abroad as pro MMA fighters. Dilshan Sriskandaraja defeated Laksiri Silva in the main event via unanimous decision and was awarded a contract to take part in the Thailand Fighting Championship.
And that's a look at primetime news for this Sunday. For the News First team, I'm Arundhati Mudan Naik. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a pleasant week ahead. Good night.